Well, good afternoon. Welcome to another Office Hours here on Hosting.com's Agency Success. My name is Nathan Ingram. I am the trainer here at Agency Success, and so glad that you are here with us today for the final Office Hours of 2025. It's been a fun year together. We've covered many questions. Looks like since we launched Office Hours in the summer, there have been 315 questions asked and answered, or 315 submissions. Some of those, as you know, contain multiple questions. So if I had to guess, probably close to 500 questions that we've covered here in the last half of 2025 since Office Hours started here on hosting.com. So glad to have you with us and part of that journey. It's always a lot of fun as we try to unpack these questions and help each other do the work that we're doing. So we have a few bits of WordPress news. I do want to say, again, right out of the gate, especially for those watching on the replay, that this is the final Office Hours of 2025, and there is a new link, a new registration that you'll need to do for Office Hours starting 1 week from today on January the 2nd, and then continuing throughout 2026. It will be the same, just so you sign up once and you'll get the reminder every week about Office Hours, but you'll need to sign up for that new link, and you will find that at upcoming.myagencysuccess.com. That'll bring you here to our link tree. And right here, every Thursday in 2026 is the new Office Hours link. So if you haven't signed up for that, go to upcoming.myagencysuccess.com. That brings you here, and make sure you click on the 2026 Office Hours link, and that gets you subscribed to the weekly meeting that we have here today. All right, so with that, let us dive into a little bit of WordPress news, shall we? So the new release schedule, the proposal, it's not final yet, but the new WordPress major core release schedule has been proposed for 2026. The goal is 3 major releases through 2026. That sounds good to me. And we're going to see, this is the proposed schedule for the rollout. So tentatively right now, Thursday, April the 9th is the date that WordPress 7.0 will roll out. And one interesting thing about how they've scheduled these rollout dates is they've scheduled them around major events in the WordPress ecosystem. So Thursday, April the 9th is targeted for during Contributor Day for WordCamp Asia. So that's pretty cool. 7.1 for August 19th, which is the final day of WordCamp US in Phoenix, Arizona in August, which is interesting. But yeah, so that's targeted for Wednesday, April the 19th. And then WordPress 7.2 scheduled for December 8th, 9th, or 10th. Not quite sure. Depends on probably when they actually schedule State of the Word for December. So those are the 3 dates that have been targeted. Again, not official yet. I just dropped the link to this post in the chat. But if you put these things on your calendar, that'll at least give you some things to think about for 2026. All right, let's see. Another little bit of news with the automatic WordPress Matt Mullenweg WP Engine lawsuit. There is a little bit of movement in the class action lawsuit that was filed. So these are people who are WP Engine customers. A couple of them tried to create a class action saying that Automatic's actions damaged their agency business. And the judge has basically thrown that class action out. So they do have 30 days to amend their class action, but who knows if that's actually going to happen or not. And I'm just noticing something interesting that here in this picture, I don't know if any of you, if you from the old iThemes world that are still around, but there is Kristen Wright, who for many years was part of the iThemes team. She now works for Automatic with the Day One journaling software. So she's right there in that story. I just saw that. So if you want to read anything more about this, it is there on the repository, and I'm going to drop that link into the chat as well. Probably the most interesting bit of news this week, and it's been a very slow week, as you can imagine, in WordPress news. Cloudflare has published their year in review. And if you are a charts junkie, you're going to love this post. So let me just drop the link for this in the chat. Cloudflare does this every year, but we'll take a look at the top level stuff. But one little piece of information I think is interesting is that according to Cloudflare, of the top 5,000 domains, and this is a subset of the top 5,000 domains, 47% still powered by WordPress. So we see WordPress holding a very strong market share position. The nearest competitor is the Adobe Experience Manager. So that's pretty interesting, I think, with Squarespace and Wix and Webflow way down here at the bottom, Shopify not even 2%. So again, this is a subset of the top 5,000 domains, WordPress holding strong. That's pretty interesting. Taking a look at the top level of this story, though, you'll find some interesting data, I think. I just want to hit a couple of things. I find this really interesting. There is a 19% growth trend in internet traffic, and a lot of it coming just in the last quarter of the year. Now, unfortunately, a lot of this is bot traffic, but the internet traffic as a whole, according to Cloudflare, has grown nearly 20% this year. So pretty interesting. Also, let's get back to the primary one here. Let's see here. 174 major internet disruptions this year. Some of them, by Cloudflare. 6.2% of traffic that passed through Cloudflare was mitigated, meaning that almost, a little over 6% of traffic was malicious in nature and was mitigated by Cloudflare's security rules, which is interesting. 5.6% of emails have some sort of malicious link in them. This is a great article, by the way. If you do any sort of blogging for your business website, there's little pieces of this article that are gold to write articles around. Google, of course, the most popular search provider. AI training was the most active crawl purpose with all the AI bots crawling sites these days. Interesting uptick in traffic for HTTP 3, which is a more robust way for websites and other apps to retrieve information across the internet. 21% traffic now using HTTP 3, which is great. Let's see. A couple of other ones I wanted to mention here. .Christmas. If you didn't know that was a domain, I actually didn't even know that was a domain, but it is the highest percentage of malicious spam email comes from the .Christmas top level domain. So there you go. Also, if you live in Spain, you have access to the highest download speeds. That's kind of interesting. A few other little things I want to bump into here. Let's see. Googlebot, of course, the highest traffic verified bot. And I think there was one more over here. Yeah, Chrome, of course, staying the most popular internet browser. Now, they've done a great, boy, I started that sentence 3 different ways. This particular post is an excellent UI study as well to see how they've done all this. So I love this because it shows you sort of where you are on the page with this little menu, but you can also just jump right to the big pieces here. So if I want to learn more about, I don't know, let's say mobile versus desktop, I can just jump right down here and I get this really cool interactive chart. Anyway, there's a ton of great data here. So if you are one that is looking for food for articles, this is a great place to go. So that's radar.cloudflare.com/year in review. And by the way, these dates, you can go back to 2024 if you want to. I think they started this. There's a few years of history here. So there's some interesting data you can even compare if you want to. So there you go. Good stuff from Cloudflare. All right, let's turn our attention to some questions then. Let me encourage you once again also, if you have a question you haven't yet asked, use that link in the chat. We just have 3 questions in the queue, so it might be a shorter than normal office hours on this holiday week, but we'll endeavor to answer all of your questions. The first question is from Beth Livingston, who I do not see in the chat. Hopefully she's taking some holiday time off. All right. Question from Beth says, FYI only. Today I submitted a ticket to hosting.com because when you create a staging site in managed hosting, it does not replace all of the URLs. I find myself accidentally editing my live site because of this. That's interesting. I tested it on more than one domain, submitted a ticket, and will report the results. Okay, that's it. That is interesting. So I don't know anything about this. Beth is using the managed WordPress powered by Rocket.net, and I don't have any specific experience with this. I haven't seen that happen on my sites at Rocket.net. However, if I had to guess, this is a problem that is probably not only related to this particular environment. So there are certain plugins that will store data in what's called a serialized format, which means like in the database, it's not the actual text, it's serialized. So when the search replace functions goes through and tries to swap the live domain for the staging domain, it doesn't do it because the text actually doesn't exist in the database. It only looks like that when it's actually rendered on the page. So it's kind of like it's encoded. That's not technically correct. But anyway, I've seen that happen before in other platforms and whatever. It's not environment related. This would happen even if you were using a migration tool to create the staging domain. So that's my best guess. And looks like Beth has submitted another question here. And we'll see if she has a yes. Nope, she doesn't have a follow-up. But yeah, have you all experienced this issue with serialized data in your database not getting updated on migration? We certainly have. And actually, one of the things we do as part of our launch process, because of this very issue, is we don't kill or we turn off the dev domain as we launch the site, so that if something is broken or it didn't get updated because of serialized data, we can see it. Because if you launch the site and it's still looking at your dev domain and that URL didn't get updated, then that can cause a problem. So we always keep the dev, we pause the dev domain just to make sure that actually didn't happen during launch. So anybody else see that before? Feel free to chime in the chat. But Beth, hopefully you got a good resolution from support there. All right. Following up to Beth's second question here, Beth says, follow up to last week, the member menu shift issue was actually caused by a current plugin that no one would think would have nothing to do with the admin menu because it specifically edits the admin bar. Interesting. Okay, so if you recall, it was a strange issue that Beth brought to the last office hours, where the menu was jumping around in the admin menu. Remember that? It was weird. I'd never seen that before. I don't think anybody else had either, but it was a plugin conflict. So this is a great little, a great reason to talk again about when anything weird, like if you see something just weird happening in WordPress, it is most often, like virtually 99+%. I mean, fill in a large number here. It's going to be a plugin conflict. It's just going to be. And so you have to go through that process of disabling your plugins one by one until you figure out the culprit. And that's frustrating, and it is what it is. But it's anytime you find WordPress has stopped doing something, or it's doing something weird, or things aren't what you expect, it's gonna be a plugin. It's just virtually always going to be a plugin. Which, Stacy, you have read my mind on my next thought. And I hate those responses from support too, because they always say, well, if you tried, turning off all your plugins and using a default theme. And yeah, like it's frustrating to hear that, but it's virtually always a plugin conflict. Now, there may be some cases where the developers of a plugin have done something weird and they've shipped some code that's not quite right. But more often than not, if it's a weird thing, especially like what Beth showed us last week with that menu jumping around, Yeah, it was probably some sort of JavaScript that was in another plugin that was interfering with what was going on there. Yeah. Shanta, could it on the rare occasion be a theme that deals with functionality? Yeah. And that's why they tell you to move to a default theme. Um, just in case you have some weird stuff in your functions.php, or the theme itself is doing more plugin jobs instead of theme jobs, functionality type things. It's almost always going to be a plugin. And as frustrating as that is, it's just the case. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Moving down the list to Shanta. We got another question to come in here. And if you have one you'd like to ask, please use the link in the chat. All right, Shanta. All right, workflow stuff that's been occupying your day today. Shanta says, I'm temporarily using a Slack list attached to a channel because apparently that makes a difference as our company task list until I get the CRM stuff sorted. That's pretty clever, Shanta. Most of our queries come in through the info Gmail to which I am delegated. I want to be able to add items to the list from either that email account or my own. I cannot add the Slack app to info, but I can send those items to my own inbox and manually send to Slack through the app add-on from there. For what it's worth, I've added ChatGPT to Slack, but I haven't been using it, and I've been able to get it to view my inbox, though there is a fair bit of manual temporal prompting. I have to specifically tell it to look at my inbox, and it gets persnickety. Yeah. I don't like using Zapier, and theoretically, the items can talk to each other. If you were, at the very least, to get emails into Slack that I could review and then either trigger a workflow or something that would populate the fields in the task list, how would you do it? Are there any tips, filters you might use or be aware of to automate this stuff? Wow. So, Shanta, let me just make sure I understand the scenario. You've got tasks coming into an inbox, an info account, right? Is there any structure to those whatsoever? Like, is the subject name the name of the tab, or these are just emails that come in and you can't really control what's in the subject or in the body, right? And some are form submissions, some are direct emails. Okay. And the goal here is to have basically a to-do list that people can take control of, right? Or tasks can be assigned to people with this. Is that the goal? Okay. Have you looked at using a Google Sheet for this? Oh, mostly you. Have you looked at you putting these in a Google Sheet as they come in? Okay. So I would look at that. You can, well, so the best thing you could do is get these consistent in some way. So get everybody into using a form, for example. And if it's, I mean, it really depends. Like, how long are you going to be in this intermediate state before you get to the CRM you're trying to choose? Okay, a couple of months at most. So you really don't want to change, like, you don't want to build something interstitial before the final thing comes. That's going to be overkill. Yeah. Okay. So, I know you say you don't like using Zapier, but to be honest with you, that's probably what I would use to solve this problem. It's actually pretty easy to get Zapier to take, look at your email and, give it, put stuff in the fields of a Google Sheet. That is pretty simple to do. And Sherry has mentioned, yeah, like that's why I was thinking about an interstitial, but you don't want to build something in the middle. A Google form will already save things to a Google Sheet, but you don't want to build something new when actually the new thing is coming pretty soon, relatively. So, is Zapier an absolute no for you, Shanta, or you just rather not use it? Because like what you just don't want to use more tools. So, I mean, if your goal is to make things easier on you for 2 months, I would 100% just go Zapier, right? Because you're at the end of the day, you're going to move away from this whole thing. And what you're trying to do in the next, couple of, 7 or 8 weeks is just get something that makes it easier on you to manage manage things, right? So um, I would use Zapier, and you could even do it with a tag. Like if this email is tagged task, Zapier can pick it up and stick it in a sheet, or Zapier can stick it in a Slack channel for you. You can, you could just have it email to Slack. Um, is it a pro Slack account, Shanta? I think there is an email to channel app that you can do that with. But then there's not a way for you to mark it off other than having conversation in a thread. I'm pretty sure there's an email to channel. It's either built in or it's an add-on. But honestly, Zapier is your friend in this. And if you haven't used Zapier in the last year, it's a lot easier to use. They have an AI tool that you can just tell it what you want it to do, and it'll help you kind of skeleton out the structure. Um, so yeah, that's what I would do. I would lean into Zapier just to get something in the middle you can manage until you land on the final solution that you're going to put into place. I would, yeah, look at your two routes. I think if you can just get an email to Slack, uh, it'll be, generic email, whatever. You could just forward to that. That would be the easiest thing. But if you actually want a trackable task list and put in a sheet that you can mark off or even assign things to people on in that sheet, then yeah, just have Zapier push the email over to the sheet. Yeah. Okie dokie. Well, good luck with that, Shanta. Let us know how that ends up for you. All right. Elizabeth has a question about that Cloudflare link. Yeah. So, what you do to find the WordPress statistic is you go down to website technologies, and that takes you to this gigantic graph, and you go to CMS, and that's where you see WordPress. A lot of interesting stuff here. Yeah, but here in CMS, you find WordPress. All right, we are down to the last question. So if you have a question you'd like to add to this final office hours of the year, you can use the link in the chat. Sherry says, I've been seeing issues with WordPress 6.9, especially with WooCommerce. Are there any updates on any other issues in WooCommerce 2? It's a good question. The only issues that I've seen with WordPress 6.9 have been related to themes and also that weird email thing they changed, which if you're using a transactional email service, um, like we've recommended here, you won't have that issue. Um, Sherry, I would say if you are seeing issue, like I need to know more information, first of all, but whatever issues you're seeing with WordPress 6.9 and WooCommerce, it's going to be either something going on with your theme, what theme are you using, or some WooCommerce add-ons. So WordPress 6.9.1 has not been launched yet. I haven't seen a schedule for that. I would imagine it'll be after, into the first couple of weeks of January. But I've not heard anything specific about WooCommerce. Has anyone else? Feel free to chime in there in the chat. And Sherry, if you can give us more information here about what specific issues you're seeing, that would also be helpful. Yeah, so we have not updated our sites to WordPress 6.9 either. There's just the last thing I want to do during the holidays is change a major WordPress version. There's no compelling reason to do it. And yeah, so WordPress 6.9 is yeah, like you see it here on WP Nathan, but this is not a client site. Yeah. Yeah, all that being said, as Sue is mentioning in the chat as well, we do have a handful of sites that have been updated to 6.9. I haven't seen any problems at all. And that's using our stack that I've talked about with the Cadence theme and Beaver Builder. No issues whatsoever. My guess is if we haven't seen 6.9.1 by the middle of January, we'll probably go ahead and update. Yeah. Yeah. It looks like everybody's mentioning in the chat no issues so far on 6.9. All the issues I've seen have been edge cases or people who are using, out of date themes or plugins, that sort of thing. Yeah. No issues with major platforms. Mm-hmm. All right. Once again, if you have a question to ask, use that link that's in the chat. We are out of questions for office hours. I think it's the first time that's happened. Elizabeth is talking about WP Nathan. Yeah, so all of this is just a Cadence starter template. It's just a Cadence starter template that we wanted to have something up there to demo in case we had to, do any kind of work during office hours to demonstrate something. All right, well let's do this then. What are you thinking about as far as goals and changes for your business in 2026? So the next year is coming. Our next office hours will be January the 2nd of 2026. And as you're thinking forward into next year, what do you want to do? Like, what are your big goals for your business? Dave, you want to retire? Like literally retire? Good for you. Elizabeth wants to do more AI. Elizabeth, what kind of AI do you want to do? Just like use AI more in your work? Dave, that's great. Let's see. Sherry is going to refresh her website and refine and pivot services. Let's see. Class, refresh his own website. Yep. Tanya's thinking about working as a Walmart greeter. Life would be simpler sometimes, right? So let's see. Doris, a new change for me is I'm adding social media management. Very good. So Doris, as you're thinking about adding social media management for one of your largest clients, are you thinking about that in context of like building out a system that you could do with more clients if you enjoy it and it goes well? It's great. Yeah, Doris, that's excellent. Let's see. Shanta wants to move up in the company and do more of the training. Excellent. Sherry is building out a personal needlework site. Very good. Eddie also refreshing his website. Stacy wants to refresh her website also. Indeed. All right. So let me ask another question. There are so we've been doing agency success with hosting.com for about 6 months now. What have you enjoyed the most? And I assume you all enjoy office hours. You're here on a vacation week for most folks. Aside from office hours, what has been some of the most valuable content that you have enjoyed here on the live streams that we're doing? Well, let's just stop there. What is some of the most valuable content that you've enjoyed that we've done this year? Starter site. Excellent. Wow. Lots of starter sites. Okay. Good. Shanta has enjoyed the AI stuff that we've done. Very good. Also, another vote of confidence for AI. So we did content and we did basic. We did the basics of AI, right? Approach to prompting, and then we did creation of content. What would you like to see that we have not been doing? Any particular topics or kinds of content that you would like to see us do that we haven't done so far? Plugin roundup. News roundup. Workflow automation case studies. Interesting, Sherry. What do you mean by that? Tell me a little more. Phoebe enjoys office hours even if you don't have a question. See, that's the one thing I love about office hours. Well, there's many things I love about office hours, but often like you come and you listen and all of a sudden you realize, oh, well, yeah, I have that question too. I hadn't thought to ask it. Um I've heard more than once of an issue being brought up in office hours that someone then either the next week or the next day hits the same problem and then, oh yeah, we talked about that. Interesting. Oh, how to use AI to set up workflows. Now, um, automating workflows. Okay, more automation. Tanya, we did not, the starter site did not cover hosting for clients. We talked in depth about that in the hosting blueprint live stream back a couple of months ago. Choosing the VPS or VDS options at hosting.com or using the managed WordPress by rocket.net option, when to choose those, and then also how to set up your cPanels if you choose a dedicated or virtual private server. Yeah, I see some plugin specific requests. I don't know that we can do specific plugin live streams. Most of the plugins out there have really good tutorials or their own Facebook group where they're providing support and ideas. So that's not the kind of thing it's likely that we'll do on these live streams. Yeah. Any other things you'd like to see that we haven't done yet? Very good. The business related webinars have been helpful. Thank you, Doris. That's great. Well, we're going to review all of this as we are planning on content for the coming year. Comparison tool studies. Okay. Yeah. Like various, which plugin is the best choice kind of a thing. LMS course setups, running your own courses. All right, folks. Well, I definitely appreciate the feedback. Tanya had a client text at 11:30 last night. Wow. Yeah. Let's do a quick survey here. How many of you allow clients to text you? There is some passionate opinions about this question in the chat. So, it's interesting because we have a few clients that will text me, but they pay a much higher level to have the ability to do that. I'm okay with that. And they don't abuse it. Like these are really good clients who have that level of access. They don't abuse it. And so also when, if a client were to text me at 11:30 and I would deem it's not an emergency, there's a beautiful feature. I don't know if it's on Android. I'm not an Android person, but on iPhone, in one of the latest iOS releases, they've done the send later feature on texts. Isn't that cool? So you can send an email, but snooze it, like snooze the email or schedule the email to send at a certain time. Yeah. So you can do that with texts now too, which is helpful. I mean, if one of our clients actually texts me at night, it's going to be a real issue. But if they're texting you and it's not a real issue, that you would say is an emergency, just don't respond. That'd be I probably just wouldn't respond. If they keep texting you, you could say, if we respond to this, it's going to be, it's an after hours emergency support level. And if it's that important to them to pay double, that's their decision. 11:30 on Christmas Day. That is crazy. My goodness. Stacy says she had one lady text her and ask if she could call. See, that's a person who is either in their 20s or 30s, or they have children who are in their 20s or 30s, because you just don't call people anymore. Yeah, you're supposed to my kids have taught me it's like an etiquette thing. You never just call, you text to ask permission to call. I don't know what that's about, but yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, folks, thanks for hanging out with me today. I think we're going to draw this one to a close. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your holiday week. I hope that as you're planning your big changes for 2026, that you are able to do that and get the ball rolling well. We will, of course, have office hours again 1 week from today. It will be another Friday office hours, January the 2nd. So make sure that you have signed up. This is very important. If you have not yet signed up for the 2026 office hours, you need to do that. And I'm just going to copy. I don't know if I can do that. Let's see. Let's copy this link into the chat. There it is. So I've even saved you a step. If you're watching this on the replay, go to upcoming.myagencysuccess.com. That is upcoming.myagencysuccess.com. That takes you to our list of live stream links, and make sure you register for the 2026 office hours, because otherwise you will not get any more reminders about office hours. It's a brand new link starting for 2026. I'm really excited about some of your content ideas. We'll be taking those under advisement and working some of those ideas into our content planning for the next year. And I look forward to being right along with you for the ride as you grow your agency. Thanks so much for trusting us with just being here and being part of our community, trusting us to provide good ongoing information to help you grow your business. So with that, we will sign off for 2025. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next year on office hours here at My Agency Success with Hosting.com, where we go further together.